the Legal Corner podcast series. Welcome to today's episode of The Legal Corner, a podcast which covers a variety of legal issues to keep you informed. Hosted by attorney at law Colin Denoon and communications specialist Leonardo Torres. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Legal Corner podcast series. It's a pleasure to have you with us today again. Unfortunately, Colin won't be with us today as he has other commitments, but we have a very exciting show planned for you all today. The title of our episode today is Legal Technological Solutions, where we'll be discussing technology and legal work. We have a very popular guest with us today in terms of knowledge of this particular work. We'll be bringing her on shortly, but before we do that, we'll be introducing her now. Her name is Miss Tracell Frederick, and she's a Senior Consultant at Avasant Consulting Limited. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology and a LLB Law from the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus. Additionally, she obtained her legal education certificate from the Hugh Wooding Law School and subsequently was called to the bar as an attorney at law of Trinidad and Tobago's Supreme Court of Judicature in December 2020. She's also passionate about music, having attained her diploma in cello performance and grade 8 certificates in theory, violin, and piano from the Associated Board of Royal Schools of Music London and the Trinity College of Music in London. She also represented Trinidad and Tobago in 2017 when she earned a position to play for the Seoul International Community Orchestra in South Korea. Later this year in 2023, she will also graduate from the University of York, having obtained her Master of Science in Computer Science, specializing in cybersecurity. Ms. Frederick, welcome to the Legal Corner podcast series. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for having me and inviting me to the podcast.
It's really a pleasure to have you, and we're going to jump right into today's episode. As we mentioned before, we'll be talking about legal technological solutions. Now, first of all, can you talk to us a bit about what is artificial intelligence?
So, artificial intelligence is a very broad area, and there are many definitions. For example, IBM defines it as leveraging computers and machines to mimic the problem-solving and decision-making capabilities of the human mind. But the company that I work for, Avasant, we define it a little bit differently. We think of it as not just a single technology, but several closely grouped technologies that allow systems to absorb, analyze, and learn from data to make a recommendation or just to take an action. So sometimes you will see technologies such as like rule-based reasoning, and you might think, is that part of artificial intelligence? And yes, it is, because a doctor might incorporate the assistance of a computer to help make a diagnosis. So in that regard, you have computers coming up with a recommendation. So you have rule-based reasoning, machine learning, speech recognition, natural language processing, facial object recognition. All of these are tools used in artificial intelligence.
Okay, thank you for that definition. Now, do you, as a practitioner, do you view artificial intelligence as a positive or negative, and why?
I definitely view artificial intelligence in a positive light. Now, you'll see people may have negative responses towards AI because they look at it as a potential tool that will make them lose their job. But it's not. That's not what it's meant to do. It's actually meant to actually assist persons in their jobs, to help humans be more efficient in their task. So in that light, I can't see it being negative. It's definitely positive. It's going to make us perform our jobs much better, faster, easier, and we could focus on other things that are more complicated.
Okay, understood. Do you see any negatives at all to it that sometimes, as users or just as members of the public, we could be concerned about?
So there are issues with respect to like machine learning. So how the software or the tool would have learned, how it would have been learned. So if you put data that is corrupted, and that's what the machine learning or the machine would have used to learn, then you could get corrupted information, and then you could get bots that give fake information, fake news. So that's what we have a lot going on right now in terms of artificial intelligence and chatbots that they create profiles and they put out fake news. So therefore you could see where it could have a negative impact, but it's all depends on how we use the technology and what we want to use it for. If we use it for positive things, then we're going to get positive results and it's going to be fine. But if it's with anything else, if we use it to do evil or to do bad, then we're going to have that negative impact.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much for that explanation. Now let's segue a little bit into legal services and technology. Um, can you talk to us a bit about the improvement that can be achieved with the use of technology in the delivery of legal services?
So we all understand the premise of legal services, and it's basically built on how an attorney could bill their clients through billable hours, right? So technology is really that thing that could enable clients to see a reduction in the costs. Because if a lawyer is able to use technology and use technology efficiently, then the lawyer will find himself or herself using less time on certain tasks. So therefore it will reciprocate. And therefore if they spend less time on certain tasks, on certain tasks based by using technology, then it will be cheaper for the client. So for example, if we use customized document automation, then we don't have to manually draft documents. So that task of manually drafting the documents will be left for the software or the tool to do, and therefore the lawyer doesn't have to draft the document from scratch, and therefore the lawyer will focus more on the needs of the client in terms of creating the best drafted document for the client, and therefore will spend less time, and therefore it will overall reduce costs. So technology is here to help us to be more efficient, to just speed up tasks. So therefore, it will definitely improve the delivery of legal services.
Well said. So, can you talk to us now about some of the innovative technological solutions that are presently available? And also, if you are aware of any that may be in the pipeline that seems to be at this point very promising in terms of improving that delivery of legal services.
So I will talk about two technological solutions. One is a solution that Avasant actually developed, and we use it, and it's very, very powerful. It's what we call it. It's called Avasant, and it's basically a real-time contract management software. So you'll see anything like document management, contract administration, and looking at compliance needs, contract change management, renewals, and termination. So where you would probably use an Excel document to probably track renewals and terminations of contracts. This tool actually is built in. So you will put your contracts in the tool. The tool will basically read the contract and be able to pull out this information from it, and will give you dashboards to basically track all of these important clauses in the contracts. So you would see even service level agreement validation to make sure that if you contract with a supplier, that the supplier is actually meeting the necessary service levels in the agreement, that they're meeting their obligations. It also built in is a financial management tool, so you could do invoicing, you could look at a third party spend analysis, funding management, and it's also a risk and relationship management tool. So, same thing within the contract, there will be certain risks that you will possibly have. So, therefore, the tool will look at those risks and basically manage those risks and relationships. So, Avasant is definitely a tool that more companies should invest in and really take advantage of, because it's very beneficial in that sense. And then the second tool that I found that's pretty interesting, and it really helps with attorneys who are into litigation and not so much corporate law, something called Machina. So Lex Machina. And this tool is a legal analytics software. So this software basically just mines and interprets data from millions and millions pages of litigation. So it scans and looks for the different types of litigation, and then based on what you are looking at, based on the subject matter and the type of case it is, it will be able to predict the behaviors and outcomes of the different legal strategies. So it will look at the judges, it will look at the lawyers on either side, the parties and the subjects of the lawsuits, and come up with different strategies, come up with different outcomes. So I could see how that will be very beneficial to attorneys in litigation. So they'll spend less time trying to figure out what could be the outcome, and come up with strategies that will be best suited for their clients.
Okay, two great solutions. I like the fact that if it's one thing I've gathered from those two tools is the fact that the time saving that it would give to the clients or its users. And, that is really what technology is all about. And I'm so happy to understand that that is what is being used right now. And I want to congratulate the company on behalf of the Legal Corner podcast series for being so innovative with those things. Now, of course, the Legal Corner podcast series is a podcast that is based in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago to be exact. And we have been notorious for being a bit of a laggard when it comes to technology. Can you talk to us as it pertains to the Caribbean legal industry and whether or not it has embraced legal technology?
So this is quite an interesting question, because we all know that the legal fraternity, the legal sector all over the world, how it's so staunch in tradition, and the resistance to change that happens in the legal fraternity. um I think we do see a bit of push towards getting the legal sector more modernized. And you see it a lot with the younger attorneys, because I consider us younger attorneys, and we are quite more intrigued and interested in tools that could better help us provide better services for our clients. So while there is a sort of pushback in terms of resistance, maybe more from the older attorneys with respect to technology, I do see there is a coming around, and we see that with the biannual meeting of the Organization for the Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Association, where that aspect of technology in law firm management was brought up, and it was a key point in the meeting. So therefore, you see that there are organizations, there are people who are pushing for the legal sector to become more modernized, to become more accessible, to meet the needs of the clients that we serve. So while there isn't like a total 100% adoption of legal technology tools, I do see where there's some embracement of it and some push towards getting the legal fraternity in that direction. And the thing is, you would see the larger firms using contract management tools and project management software to better serve their clients. What we need though is for those not in the bigger firms to try and invest in these technological solutions to get better service to their clients.
Okay, now can you talk to us about the operations of a law firm? Do you think, or how can you, do you think rather, um, outsourcing can improve the operations of a law firm?
So first we have to understand what outsourcing is, and once we understand that, we'll see whether it will be beneficial or not to the operations of a law firm. So outsourcing is leveraging the strength of other experts. So a lot of the times there'll be an area that you just don't have the expertise or the experience or the knowledge set to actually deal with. So it will be better if you actually outsource that particular area to someone who has that expertise. So when you outsource that, then your firm or your practice can focus exactly on what you do best. But then there's also the differentiation between outsourcing and offshoring, because some people sometimes mistake the two. So outsourcing is when you actually use local resources, whereas offshoring, you are employing cheaper labor internationally or regionally to complete the task remotely. So we have to understand the difference between the outsourcing and the offshoring. So now we understand that outsourcing could improve operations because you're not going to spend the time researching and trying to understand areas that you just don't know about or don't have the expertise on. So if you outsource it, then you will save time, you will cut costs, and you would reduce your workload. So you could actually focus on what is your bread and butter, what you're really good at. So you will lower costs, and then you would also expand your practice area of expertise, because then you could, as part of your service offering, you can say, oh well, we do have this area and this area, and we do touch on that. So even though you don't have that particular expertise, you have a freelance attorney that can take it. You could pay a one-time fee, a flat fee, and then get that service done, and then you bill it back to your client from that flat fee. So therefore, it actually enables the client to get a much easier on the pocket cost than if you decided to take it on not having that expertise, because it will take much longer, and then you will bill the client based on the length of time you had to take to actually come up with a solution or come up with a strategy. So outsourcing does improve the operations of a legal firm.
Thank you very much for that very in-depth explanation. We really appreciate it. At this point, we're going to be taking a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Right before the break, we were talking about a whole bunch of different topics. We talked about artificial intelligence, we talked about how it improves legal technology and how it improves legal firms, rather, as well as some of the technological solutions. Now, as we begin to bring down the curtain on today's episode, we want to talk a bit about Avasant law. Ms. Frederick, can you talk to us about this law firm?
Yes. So Avasant, as a company, we're focused on IT management consulting. But there is an aspect of Avasant that deals with the law. So there's a law firm attached to Avasant. And we are not in the business of litigation. So we're not litigation attorneys. We're more focused on corporate law. So we deal with, within the realm of corporate law, we deal with contract assessments, corporate formation, restructuring of companies, mergers and acquisitions, how businesses could optimize their contracts, and we also do corporate negotiation and renegotiation. Then we also look at technology transactions. So anything with respect to cloud and SaaS service agreements, e-commerce transactions, cross-border transactions, technology and software licensing. That's what's our focus on. We also do a lot of intellectual property in terms of trademark and copyright registration. We look at information privacy and security, making sure that clients meet regulatory compliance. We look at the risk management, this disaster recovery, data privacy, data security. And then we also look at market expansion and development. So we help government draft legislation. We also propose new legislation, implementing legislation, and even trade regulations and advisory. We also do startup advisory. So a lot of people don't know how, to actually start a business and what are the steps to actually start up your business. So we advise our clients on the business formation. We give them that support. We give them the day-to-day legal support and the business development support under our strategy, under our startup advisory. So we definitely don't do any litigation. It's all corporate.
I totally understand. And I mean, that's a wide catalog of things that you all do. And it's very interesting to hear that. Now, as it pertains to you as an employee, can you talk to us a bit about your experience having being employed at a global company while being based here in Trinidad and Tobago?
So Avasant, yes, is a global company. We have many regional offices. Our headquarters is in LA, but we have offices in DC, Mexico, Canada, the UK, Trinidad and Tobago. We have people working in Japan and Spain. We have employees almost on every corner of this planet, right? With respect to my experience working with Avasant, working as an employee at Avasant, it has really been an eye-opening experience. After coming from the public sector, you really see how private companies are very much more efficient in terms of getting getting their work done, in terms of producing. It is such an incredible experience to work with international counterparts and see how they work and see how it's what is important, how to get it done, and get it done, and see the results of just working towards addressing your client's needs. So the support, though, is tremendous. Like, you could ask any question, get any level of support from the leaders of the company, and you would definitely get it. Like, no question is stupid. Nothing is below anybody. So just that support and that environment of learning and constantly growing is definitely within the company, and you see it every day. So definitely working in a global firm has its benefits, and working from home also has its benefits. But it's also important to know that the company expects a certain level of work product, and once you do it, you get rewarded. And it's never a sort of competition to be better than anybody else or anything like that. It's just really focused on your development and meeting our clients' needs.
Okay, and as a young attorney, um, do you think, or how do you deal with rather the pressures of being part of a global company? Because I mean, you've made mention of some of the countries in which they operate, and is it safe to assume that Trinidad is the only one within the Caribbean that they operate out of? And how is that feel? How does that feel to you? How do you deal with that pressure as a young attorney, having just not just, but recently came out of the public environment? How was that transition for you, and how do you deal with that level of pressure, which I'm kind of getting from you that it exists, but in a way that of pushing excellence? How do you deal with that?
Okay, so for me, I needed that push. And in the public sector, I definitely didn't get that push. So coming into Avasant, I saw where working with international counterparts and seeing how they work really cemented in my mind, okay, this is how the work should be done, and this is how you get it done, and this is how the work product should look, and this is how you can really be a benefit to your clients. So while there isn't like a huge pressure to like be constantly productive or to be constantly on top of your game, because at the end of the day we are all humans, and we do make mistakes, and we do have our lag times. But it's because of that the company is so understanding, so they don't expect, okay, you're going to be hard and going and pushing like 12 hours a day every day. Like, no, we don't work like that. We work our 8 hours a day, right? And if you have to get something done, you get it done. But it's definitely not high pressure compared to if I was in private practice, which I was before, where as a young attorney, you have to put in ridiculous hours for seniors to actually recognize you. I remember interviewing for one particular firm, and the senior attorney there told me, well, 8 to 4 is not all of your working hours. That is just, you work 8 to 4, but your actual working hours starts after 4. And to me, that is more of a pressure than anything else. Within Avasant, I don't experience that. I definitely see where they prioritize your health and your well-being and your work-life balance. So that pressure of working long hours or working until you're just bone tired. It's not like that at all. You definitely have the support of your peers and your leaders, and we all work together to get the job done. So it's not like anyone has to be overworked to get it done. So as a young attorney, it's really refreshing to not have that type of pressure. It's a different type of pressure. It's something that it's more of you wanting to push towards your best than actually having the company say you need to push.
I'm so happy to hear you say these things, and it sounds, coming from you, it sounds very enlightening to know that you're part of this company and you feel so highly motivated, and also in a way to not just do the minimum but do the best, and that's always a good environment to be around, especially when it comes to a work environment where sometimes we can be doing things and be demotivated and just doing it for that paycheck. And I'm happy to hear that from you. Now, unfortunately, we have come to the end of today's episode. It was really a pleasure having you on board with us, and we really want to congratulate you on behalf of the Legal Corner podcast series. We want to congratulate you in advance as it pertains to your Masters of Science in Computer Science from the University of York. Please let us know when you have been, when you receive your instrument. And we really, again, want to thank you for your wealth of knowledge and, of course, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was really my pleasure to come and speak to you and to speak to your audience about legal technology. And I will definitely inform you when I have that piece of paper in my hand. Thank you so much.
Yes, please don't be a stranger. Thanks again. Thank you for listening to the Legal Corner podcast series. For more information, please visit us at our Facebook or Instagram pages or send your comments to thelegalcornerpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.